residency and you're like super excited, right? It's June 30th. You're like, it's done. Nobody needs to co-sign these orders. I'm my own boss. I'm going to make my own decisions medically, and you feel great about that. But then you realize, damn, I feel all alone. I am signing these charts. It's my name at the bottom. I am responsible for these people medically, and I'm making all this money, but what do I do with it? And who's helping me here? We don't learn that in medical school. We don't learn that in residency. Things are changing now with people who are organizing this conference, like Dr. Zhao and Yatin with this podcast. Things are changing. And I love the fact that you guys are here today, because you guys are part of this change. You want to learn about finances in order not to feel alone when you graduated. When I graduated, I felt super alone, even though I had all those years of business school. And I was like, how do my colleagues feel? This is an uncomfortable feeling, this uneasy feeling of July 1st. Not only am I responsible for these patients medically and feeling anxious about that, but I'm now making money and I don't know what to do with it. I have debts. I don't know what to do first. Do I pay off the debt first? Do I invest? Do I incorporate? There are so many questions out there when you start making money. And in your first 2 years, this is where I started learning. Now, I implore you to start learning now, okay? I started learning in my first 2 years, really hitting it hard with the personal finance and trying to learn how to answer all these questions. How do I invest? When do I incorporate? Who invests my money? That was a big one for me. Like, how come I done all this financial, they're on my wall right now, an MBA and a finance degree, and I still don't know who's going to invest my money or whether I invest my money, because it doesn't matter. Those degrees are they're not teaching you practical personal finance stuff. That's something that you learn on your own. That's something that you excel on your own, and everybody's case by case. But at least coming to a conference like this, you're going to learn the tools on how to be more comfortable with your finances, okay? And it is truly a lifelong learning process. In getting prepared for this conference, Yatin and I were discussing our slides and everything, and we were both looking at each other's eyes going, oh yeah, I need to read a little bit more about that. He's like, oh yeah, I need to catch up on that book. And that's what it is. We're trying to plant the seed for you guys to be more, to enjoy learning about this. It really should be joyful and not painful. And at the beginning, honestly, it was painful. I was scared. I was overwhelmed with all these. I knew what the terms meant, but I was scared of applying them, right? And it really was a painful first few months, because I was truly worried about what I'm going to be doing next and whether it was the right thing or the wrong thing to do. But the truth is, there's people that can help you with this, and there's people that have gone through it, and hopefully we'll get through some of these things today so you don't feel as alone. So one of the first questions I asked myself is like, okay, I'm starting to pay off my student debts. I'm working on it, chipping it away slowly. And I'm making good money being an emergency doctor staff and a rural doctor. So I had so many questions. First of all, when do I incorporate? No one's talked to us about this. My accountant was a great source of when to incorporate, when not to incorporate. So my biggest thing for you is find your tribe. What do I mean by tribe? You need to have an accountant and a lawyer at minimum if you're incorporating a lawyer, but an accountant at minimum, and an accountant and a lawyer if you're incorporating, okay? And then possibly a financial planner of some sort if you need it, and we'll discuss that, okay? So things to talk about is speak to your accountant about incorporating or not incorporating, and then know how much you need per month. How much do you need per month to spend? How much do you need to live? And what are your obligations, okay? Once you know that, once you actually sit down with yourself and you do the math and you look at your statements and you think, okay, I just need this many $1,000s a month, or that's all I need. Anything left over, what am I going to do with, right? That's when you can ask yourself, do I incorporate? Do I not incorporate? What is the point of incorporating? The point of incorporating in general is to save tax now and defer it for a time when your tax bracket might be lower, okay? So for example, right now, let's say you're finishing your residency and you're becoming staff and you're making whatever it is, let's say $300,000 a year, okay? Do I incorporate? Do I not incorporate? A lot of the questions boil down to, how much money is going to be left over after I pay myself what I need. So the amount that I need to live on every month, my student debts, mortgages, whatever it is else you have, how much is left over, and is what's left over enough to save in this bank, which is my corporation. Think of the corporation as a place you're going to set aside the money that you don't need now so that you can pay less taxes today and defer those taxes for a time in the future. Okay, so right now I'm incorporated. So after incorporation, I pay myself every month a specific amount where I take that money, I live off of it, I pay some of my debts with it, but also the rest I'm saving in the corporation. This corporation is like a bank for me for later on. So when I retire, I can withdraw money from the corporation for an amount that I might need. And my tax bracket when I'm older will be lower because I probably need less money. So my tax bracket will be lower. So this is why we ask ourselves, do we incorporate, do we not? And the reason I say keep listening is because Yatin is going to be discussing incorporating in a little more detail, but I did want to give you a bit of a taste of why we even talk about incorporating and why is it important, and what things to start thinking about. One thing I would highly encourage is for you guys to download this PDF. You'll find it online. It's a PDF about professional corporations, and explains to you like why to incorporate and what kind of expenses go into corporations and whatnot. Okay, remember, whether you're incorporated or not, you can still expense things. This is a question I get a lot. People think that, well, I don't know, can I expense the gas money that I'm traveling to my locum by car? Can I expense the gas money if I'm not incorporated? Yes, of course. You can still make those expenses. You can still reduce your taxes through the work-related expenses, okay? Incorporation is basically to reduce your taxes in general and keep a bank for later on to pull money for later on when you're retiring, but you can still expense things even if you're not incorporated. Okay, so just keep that in mind because that's a misconception that people have that if they're not incorporated, they can't expense things. That is not true. The next question I asked myself is, Nour, who is going to invest my money? Okay, I learned in business school and in my finance degree that there's all these financial planners and budgeters and all sorts of things, and they're going to put my money in all these funds and they're going to make me lots of money in the future. Who's going to invest my money? So when I graduated, I thought to myself, all right, so let's meet these people that, you know, they actually, when you graduate, they're going to try to contact you. But I contacted a few people that, you know, my friends worked with, and that's how it works, right? Word of mouth. Your friend has a financial planner that they really like, probably because the person's responsive, dresses well, and gets them coffee at their very expensive looking office, right? Like this is like, it's hard to like judge, but who's going to invest my money? You go in and you're in this beautiful office. I remember I interviewed 6 financial planners. 6. This is my first 6 months after graduating. I interviewed 6 people because I thought to myself, all right, where am I going to put this money and who's going to help me with it, right? So I interviewed 6 people, and you know, it varied from like phone calls to going to like the, I don't know, 50th floor in Bay Street and meeting with this very well-dressed financial advisor in like RBC Wealth Management. And I was like, this guy's going to take care of me for sure. Like, look at this. Look at all the assets he's managing, right? In the end, and I'll explain a little bit later on why, but in the end, after interviewing these 6 people, I decided to go with no one. I ended up, and I'm so grateful for doing that. I ended up deciding to do a little bit of reading on my own on personal finance. And now I am in charge of my own personal finance with no one dictating where my money goes or taking large amounts of fees from me. So I'll explain to you a little bit later as to why I did that and why I went with the route that I did. It's okay, whatever route you decide, as long as you know what the pros and cons of each route is, okay? So the problem is that my colleagues and I, when we first graduated, all these financial planners came at us, and you know, we were thinking that, you know, these were the right people for us, but we didn't really get the full picture, the pros and cons fully. And it's okay to go with a financial planner who takes percentage based, as long as you understand what the pros and cons are, as long as you're well aware, right, that you have informed consent and people are not scamming you, okay? So that's my big question of who's going to invest my money now. Now, I did want to go through some concepts with you guys about things that I learned in business school that are important for personal finance. Because remember, I said my business school, my lovely like papers that are hung up there in like nice frames. They didn't teach me about personal finance, but they did teach me a couple of concepts that that are useful for personal finance. So I want to make sure that you guys understand these concepts, and they'll help you in your journey in finance. So first concept is compounding. What is compounding? Not a compounding pharmacy for medications, but compounding money. So what that means? It's the process of when an asset, through the asset's earnings, right? When something, whatever it is you're investing or whatever it is you have, is earning more money, and those earnings are reinvested to generate more earnings, and then more earnings, and then more earnings. So you see where I'm going. It's exponential because your earnings are generating earnings, okay? So it's an exponential type of growth where the investment will generate earnings from both the principal. When we say principal, we mean the initial investment. So if you put in $10,000 and that $10,000 makes $100, so the 10,000 is the principal and the $100 is, let's say, the earning or the interest or the dividend or whatever it is, but whatever has made more money on your principal, okay? And then when you take that $100 from that you earned and you reinvest it, that will now do compounding. That will be an exponential growth. So that's the difference between simple interest, where it's just your $10,000 making money, okay, and your earnings are not reinvested, versus compound interest. So see, it's a very big difference here between the orange line and the blue line, okay? One's exponential, one is more linear. How do you even get wealthy? Well, there's really three main concepts. You start early, and that's really the main thing. That's why I'm very impressed that you guys are here today, because you're starting early in the thinking process. Whether you've invested or not, I don't care. You're starting to think about the whole process. So you're starting early. The point is to spend less than you earn and investing well. Once you're saving the money, then you can invest it, and little by little becomes a lot through compounding, okay? Now, let me give you an illustration of this and why time is the most important factor in investing or in finance in general. Time is money, okay? We say in medicine, time is heart muscle, time is brain. Time is money when it comes to your finances. Why? Because look at this very, very simple illustration, guys. You've got investor one who started investing at age 25 and stopped investing at 34 for whatever reason, okay? They got laid off, they were disabled, whatever it was. They set aside $5,000 a year for 10 years since age 25. Investor two started at 35. Maybe they were a medical student and then resident, and they were, in their training forever. Sounds very familiar, but they started at 35 and they invested $5,000 a month, $5,000 a year for 30 years in a row until reaching age 65. So even though this person kept investing for a very long time, investor two, but investor one stopped early, the power of compounding, meaning the power of investor one's earnings, generating earnings, and that kept going and going. Investor one, in fact, at age 65, had more money than investor two, okay? So all this to say is just start now, okay? And I just want to plant the seed of the start now. Like I said, we're going to try to help you get the tools and understand the importance. You won't leave this 30-minute talk saying, okay, I know exactly what to invest in. No, that's not the point. The point is I want you to start thinking about this and start learning about this in order to succeed and be like investor one, okay? And not make the same mistakes that we have made by not investing early. There's very few things I regret, okay? Because all mistakes you learn from. And right now, my financial mistakes I've learned from and I am now teaching others about. But one thing I really wish I did is invest early. And that is what every investor will tell you, is that they wish they invested early. And then there's the concept of the time value of money. And you'll see a theme. The theme is always time, time, time. Okay. Time value of money. Business school, they loved showing us these complex formulas. Okay. I know it's no organic chemistry formula, but they loved showing us these formulas. Okay. The future value of money and how to calculate the present value of money. So what is this? What does this even mean? Okay. All this means is that the dollar value today is worth more than the dollar value in the future. Why? Because the dollar you have right now, you can either invest or put in a savings account or whatever it is and do something with in order to gain more money later and cause this compound effect of generating more income. So these complex formulas look at the number of periods, the interest rate, and how long you're investing for. But all it is saying is that the future value is the value of a dollar today is worth more. So money today you can invest and potentially grow to a larger amount. So the time value of money is used to make strategic decisions like long-term financial decisions, such as whether to invest in a project, and check the cash flow of the project. So that's in general the concept of the time value of money, where money is actually with time. Like your value will go more if you're investing it. So the dollar today is worth more than a dollar in the future. And then time is money in this case. The last concept I want to talk to you guys about is diversification. What diversification means is, and you've heard this before, but what does it really mean? What does it mean to not have all your eggs in one basket? All it means is that and this is one of the mistakes. I'm sure some of you are going to ask, so what are your financial mistakes, Nour? So one financial mistake I made is like at the beginning, I started investing. This was like when I was in my early 20s. I saw that Bombardier stocks were extremely low and I had a bit of money. So I wanted to buy a ton of Bombardier stocks. At that point, they were like $4. So I was like, okay, I'm going to buy a ton of Bombardier stocks and then I'm going to hold on to them. And that's going to be my investment for now. And I read all these articles about like diversifying and all that. But then I read that really most investors only invest in like 1 to 3 investments. That was a long time ago. Okay. But most investors only invest in 1 to 3 investors. So I was like, okay, well, here's my one investment. I'm going to invest a bunch in Bombardier. What does that do? That means that my risk is completely in the aerospace industry, and not just the aerospace industry, but also this one company. So my money and my investments are all in one basket, which is the aerospace industry, the one company. Okay. So what diversification means, it's a strategy that mixes a wide variety of investments, whether it's stocks, cash, bonds, and you're diversifying them in many different types of investments, in many different parts of industries, across many different nations. And that is the idea of diversifying. So that if you've got many different eggs in this one basket, if one of them cracks, you might not even notice, because sometimes in one industry, when something's going down, another industry is going up. Electric cars are in fashion, they're going up. Oil industry going down. So all that to say is diversification will make sure that you are reducing your risk. So that is the concept of diversifying. And then another graph they show us in business school is this standard deviation of how to minimize your risks through diversifying. And it actually shows that you can reach up to 30 stocks if it's properly diversified across multiple industries. All you need is 25 to 30 stocks, and you have mitigated your diversification. Now we talk about index funds and ETFs having thousands of stocks where they're extremely well diversified, but in reality, you don't really need that huge amount. It's really, 30 to 50 stocks, and you've minimized that diversification. So how do you even diversify? And what do I mean by like these terms like stocks and bonds and whatnot? Just very briefly, like a stock is when you own part of a company and you're buying ownership in part of the company. And if that company is doing well, then the stock value goes up. Doing poorly, stock value goes down. But it also depends on how the economy is doing. So sometimes it's not about the company itself, but how the economy is doing. So that's how the stock value. What a bond is, on the other hand, is you are lending the company some money. and they are paying you interest. So that is a type of investment you're doing. You're lending them money and they're paying you interest. So those are two of many different types of investments that you're going to hear: stocks and bonds. Now, I hear some people ask me, what TFSA should I invest in? Or what RRSP should I invest in? That or right away tells me that we need to pull back and discuss what a TFSA is and what an RRSP is. There's no TFSA you invest in. A TFSA and an RRSP is a basket. All it is a basket. What you invest in is your choice. You can put investments in there, whether it's stocks, bonds, whatever stock you want, whether you want Apple, Google, whatever it is, or index funds, ETFs, whatever you want, bonds, or just put cash. Those are what you're putting in your basket. So what are the TFSA is a basket, RRSP is a basket. A TFSA is an account where you hold investment, and it's something that's unique to Canada. You hold investments, they generate income, they generate capital gain and dividends, and they're tax-free. So when you're generating in this money and you sell it, you're not getting taxed on that. But if you're not having this in the TFSA or RRSP, then you are getting taxed on that. Okay, so keep that in mind, whether you're investing in your corporation or personally. If you're investing your money and you sell your stocks, you're going to get taxed on that. And if your money is in a TFSA and there are limits to the TFSA, then you're not getting taxed on that. And this happened actually right when I was in working in finance, is when I believe Justin Trudeau started this TFSA business, and it was very helpful for the Canadian population to start saving. And this was in the middle of a recession in 2008. An RRSP, much older investment plan, baskets. It's a basket again. You can choose what you want in there, right? And what happens in this one, it's just sheltering you from taxes today, and you can pull on these investments later when you're older and retired and your tax bracket is lower. And it will help you reduce your taxes now by putting your money in the RRSP. Okay, TFSA, you can pull the money in and out as you please, but it depends on your TFSA limits. RRSP, once your money's in, you will get some penalties and you will be taxed if you pull the money out of it. Okay, so keep that in mind for TFSA and RRSP. Just an idea is there's no what TFSA do I invest in? TFSA is your basket. You're investing whatever types of assets you want in these baskets. Okay. So I kept asking myself these questions: what do I invest in? What do I invest in? You've got many options. Okay. Number one, you have the option of not investing. Nour, this is too overwhelming. I'm already overwhelmed. I don't want to think about this. Why don't I just make money, keep money in the bank? It's safer. Keep money under my bed. It's safer, and let's just get it over with. Right? Like, I don't want to invest. It's too complicated, and there's too much to learn, and I don't have time because I'm studying for exams. Sure, if you don't invest, that's an option, but there's inflation. What is inflation? Inflation is just the fact that goods and services every year are going to increase in price. So that money that you're not investing is losing value. Remember, the time value of money is that the money now is worth more than money in the future. So if you keep that money under your bed or in your bank account, not making any money, inflation is eating it up. You have another option. You can go with a financial advisor who's commission-based. And I have colleagues who, despite like speaking to about DIY investing, fee-based advisors and whatnot, they want a financial advisor that's commission-based. They understand that they don't want to be involved. So this financial advisor who's commission-based, what they do is these are the six advisors that I had interviewed at the beginning. And I basically, they quoted me like 1%, 2%, 1.5%. Basically what that means is that no matter how your investment does, if you invest $100,000 with them, they will take 1% every year, no matter what. Whether you make money, lose money, doesn't matter. That is their fee for managing your money. Remember the idea of compounding we talked about earlier? That 1% over time with compounding actually is a big deal. If you take 1% of $1 million that you're going to save eventually, take 1% every year, they're taking 1% of that $1 million. And every year that 1% is being compounded is of money that you are not compounding, that you are not generating money on. So that's actually a big waste of your money. And in fact, it's calculated that people who use financial advisors that are commission-based for, let's say, 1.5% or 1% versus people who are doing DIY investments, it's about a 20-30% difference in how much they're going to retire with in the end. So that's a huge chunk. But some people are okay with that because they don't want to think about the investment. They don't want to be involved. And that's okay, as long as you understand and you're not being scammed, right? As long as you understand what the pros and cons are. You can have a robo-advisor, like companies like Wealthsimple, where you throw money into an account, and there's this robo-advisor automatically invests your money in 30 to 50 stocks that are diversified, and then you forget about it. They have fees that are around like 0.4 to 0.5 sometimes, but it depends. So you're going from like a 1% fee to 0.4 to 0.5, a little bit better. Then you can do the DIY route, which I'll talk to you a little bit about. But again, not going to teach you everything, but going to teach you the tools on how to do it. There's an initial learning period. I'm not going to lie. There's an initial fear period with everyone, but the initial learning period is so worth it. Yesterday, I did my monthly financial investing, and it took, I think, 3 to 4 clicks and a total of 5 minutes. Not because I'm good, not because I have a finance degree, no, but because it's a habitual practice of investing every month in the same diversified portfolio that I choose. And really, like, there's not one better than the other as long as it's well diversified. And finally, and this actually I went with as well, is a fee-based financial advisor. Someone where you still have autonomy, you're still doing the investments, but they are hand guiding you, not hand holding you, hand guiding you in the right direction of how to invest, how to budget, and what to do. And the fee-based financial advisors with the DIY investing is the route that I decided to do after interviewing all those people and deciding that I don't want to do that anymore. And honestly, it's a huge relief off my shoulders that I did not go with them. I would have honestly felt, I would have to this day regretted investing with someone who was going to take 1 to 2% a year, with, you know, their flashy offices and taking a ton of my money when you work hard for that money. So 20 to 30% was a lot in the end. But as long as you know the pros and cons, that's all I want you to know. Just know the pros and cons, and then there's no wrong answer. I would say the wrong answer is not to invest at all and just leave your money out to inflation. But as long as you know the pros and cons, I'm okay with that. Active versus passive investing. Active investing requires a hands-on approach, and that's what these financial advisors, the percentage-based ones, typically are doing. They're actively managing your portfolios. They're promising you that they're going to beat the market, right? They're promising you that they're going to do better than the market and that you're going to do better with them. And they've got past history of them beating the market to show you. But the truth is, passive investing over a long period of time, and if you're early in your career, you have 20 years, you have 25 years of investing. So passive investing is less buying and selling, and it's often results in buying like index funds or something that's super, super diversified, and sometimes mutual funds, but mainly index funds because mutual funds have higher fees. So that's active versus passive investing. Passive investing is what I, as a DIY investor, do. Although you can still do active investing as a DIY investor, but active investing basically is more about like stock picking. Like, these are the stocks I'm going to invest in because I think they're going to go well. Now, I'll tell you a bit of a story of Warren Buffett. About over a decade ago, he gave some hedge fund managers a $1 billion test, where if they were able to beat the market over 10 years, then he was going to give them a huge cash prize. Over 10 years, all these hedge funds, after accounting for their fees and all their commissions and all that, in the end did not beat index funds and did not beat passive investing. So if Warren Buffett is a believer in passive investing, I am a believer in passive investing. It's really a tug of war. Those who are fee-based, those who are commission-based financial advisors will tell you that they will beat the market. They aim to beat the market. They will show you past history, but past history is not a reflection of future. Okay, it really isn't. Passive is basically, you aim to track the market, and you know that you've got a long period to go, so you just take your time there. It involves buying ETFs and group bonds and group funds. And so the pros of both is, with the right skills, if you really are like this incredible investor, then yeah, sure, you might be able to outperform the index, but usually not all the time. And usually it's got high fees associated with it. When passive investing, it's lower fees. This is just to show you that if you've got 20 to 25 years, this is the Dow Jones from 1928 to like today, right? Like from 2020. overall, we're moving upwards. So if you've got a long period of time, I don't care what happens in these small waves. I don't care. Like people are worried about their stocks. I don't even check. Once a month I invest, but I don't actually actively check. When the market is down, I'm happy because I can buy more because I'm early in my career and I'm earning, so I can buy more. When the market is up, I'm happy.